Hello, everybody. I hope you guys can hear me here on the radio. How is everybody doing today here? I'm Logan. This is the Log Show, and my God, did we have a very fun weekend in sports this past weekend. Obviously, the talk of the town right now is the one and only UFC 300. What an absolute show that was. It really did live up to the hype. It was an absolutely stacked card, and it lived up to what it was. Obviously, Pereira retains. Weili retains. Max Holloway, Justin Gaethje might have put on the definition of a BMF fight. We have Charles Oliveira losing to Armand I still don't know how to pronounce that dude's name. I think it's Sirkan. I don't know. I just keep calling him Armand. From Romania. That looked very impressive in that fight. Bo Nickel, dominant win with a rear naked choke. Obviously dominated that whole first round. Looked very good in that first round. And then made quick work in the second round. And throughout this whole card, again and again, it was so good. Only 2 fights ended with decision. Three fights ended in a decision. Every other, or 4 fights, sorry, I forgot the Weili fight also did go to decision. It was just a dominant decision win. But nonetheless, 5 out of the 12 fights on only 5 out of the 12 fights on UFC 300 end in decision. A lot of finishes. It was so exciting. I mean, I can't talk highly enough about it. I'll get more into each fight in depth, my reactions to everything in depth in a little bit. The Yankees, they lose last night, but we're on a little bit of a roll. They won that doubleheader against the Guardians a couple days ago, and then lost the last game of that series, which kind of sucked. They've had trouble closing out series, but nonetheless, obviously sitting at 12-5, they are playing very well right now. I'm saying that after losing 2 straight, but still, I think tonight they will get back to winning ways in Toronto. They play at 7 o'clock tonight. Hopefully, they could get back to winning ways. If I'll pull it up here. I believe it is, yeah. Rodon is pitching tonight. So this one should be a good one. Hopefully, he could put on a performance. Currently has a 2.8 ERA. Only 1-0 is doing okay. So hopefully he could keep that going and really roll in this next game against the Blue Jays. Not only that, the New York Knicks have clinched the 2 seed in the NBA playoffs. What an impressive season it has been for the New York Knicks, able to squeeze in to that 2 seed. I know, obviously, they are 14 games behind the Celtics. The Celtics won the East with flying colors, but nonetheless, we were sitting there looking at a play-in tournament, 4 teams possible to play the Knicks. As of the moment, seeding-wise, it would be the 76ers with Embiid and Tyrese Maxey in that squad, which is a series squad to play in the playoffs 100%. But not only do we have that, we got, obviously, the Heat are in the play-in. They can end up the 7 seed. The Bulls can end up the 7 seed. The Hawks can end up the 7 seed. And we all know how Knicks fans feel about the Hawks here. So that would be a fun series. There's a lot of potential to see who ends up playing the Knicks. It is very weird for me to say that the Knicks are that good of a team that they're sitting at the 2 seed in the East going into the playoffs. I'm very proud of this team. Obviously, Jalen Brunson's been an absolute certified dog this year. He's played out of his mind. I saw his splits over the last, I think it was the last 10, 15 games. And there's only one game where he has under 35 points, and in that game he had like 20 and 10. So Jalen Brunson has been an absolute animal for the Knicks this season. Obviously, that 61-point game, even though we lost to the Spurs a couple weeks ago, had 45 a couple weeks ago. Just been absolutely rolling, playing so well. Not only him, OG Anunoby's back. He's been playing well since he returned from his injury. Not only OG Anunoby, but just so many people have been playing well for the Knicks. I mean, a lot of people playing a lot of minutes for that team, but they've been able to put it together. Thibodeau's really turned that program around, and currently has them at the 2 seed. Yeah, the Heat are scary. Yeah, the Sixers are scary, and I'll talk about them more in depth with stats and all that. But if I have time later, but it's just I think the Knicks are good enough to beat both of those. I mean, the Heat are always unpredictable because Jimmy Butler doesn't care about the first 82 games of the regular season. Like, Jimmy Butler just doesn't care about the regular season. He's like, as long as we squeeze into the playoffs, I'm fine, and I'll turn up then. So, the Heat are an extremely unpredictable team to look at right now. 110%. Why is this turned down on here? Maybe that's why. Sorry if you guys couldn't hear me on the radio this whole time. I just figured out what was going on there. So, but yeah, nonetheless, the Knicks, they've been rolling. I mean, I think they're better than the Sixers. I think, going back to talking about the Heat, when you look at the Heat the way they are, it's just they're such a postseason team. Jimmy Butler's such a postseason player that, like, as of the moment, are the Knicks better technically than the Heat? Yeah, 100%. Like 110%. Are the Knicks that I've seen in the regular season better than the Heat that I saw throughout the regular season? Yeah, but Jimmy Butler has proven year in and year out that just what he does is just after the regular season. It's in the playoffs. He just decides to become Michael Jordan and absolutely turn up. So it's scary. The Hawks are a very beatable team for the Knicks. So are the Bulls. The Bulls are a very beatable team. It's obviously those top two teams that you have to worry about with this, or not top two, but like that 7 and 8 seed you have to worry about if you're the Knicks, because the Sixers, obviously you have Embiid, you have Tyrese Maxwell, you have Tobias Harris. You got a lot of pieces on that team that have been there before, have made Eastern Conference championships before, have won in the playoffs before, even though they've been so injury prone throughout the whole season. You know, Embiid missed a lot of games this year. Tyrese Maxey missed a handful of games this year. That team has been so injury riddled that if they're healthy, if they could be completely healthy by the time they play the Knicks, it's a scary series for the Knicks. It is. It's just as scary as the Heat. Yeah, I don't know. I think they could beat the Sixers, though. I think they could beat the Heat as well. And then you move on in that into that second round. Like, I think they could beat the Bucks. I don't think we have a better roster than the Bucks, but I think the Bucks are riddled by this dude named Doc Rivers. And I said it to my friend who's a Bucks fan the other night. Doc Rivers is like allergic to conference finals. So, that's really rough. I'll get back to the Knicks later. Hockey playoffs also coming up, looking at these standings. All that's being fought for, I believe, is this last wild card spot. But, sorry. Yeah, is this last wild card spot is I believe the only thing that people are fighting for. I know they're fighting for it in the East. I'm trying to see the West right now. You know, if they want it to be nice. Yes, that last Eastern Conference playoff spot is the only thing being fought for. The West is pretty set. with Dallas being the best team in the West. The Stars trying to go on a little bit of a run this year. And then you have the reigning champions, Vegas, barely even squeezing in, sitting there in the wild card. So they're hoping to put together some games. Islanders squeezing into the playoffs with a big win last night over the Devils. Looking at the standings right now for the NHL, for you hockey fans, you got, I'm trying to see the games behind here, but it's not showing me. Yeah, oh, here it is. You got the Capitals and Red Wings pretty much fight. I mean, this fighting for this last wild card spot is very close. I mean, not a lot of games left, so it really comes down to these teams where it's the Capitals, Red Wings, Penguins, and Flyers, because I believe, if I do remember correctly, a win is 2 points, overtime win is 1 point, a loss is 0 points in the NHL, if I remember correctly. So if that's the case, the Flyers are still technically in it, I believe. But then you got the Capitals and Red Wings tied at 89 points. You got the Pittsburgh Pirates a point behind them at 87, or at 88, and the Flyers right there at 87. So all these teams, all with one game left to play too. I believe so. I believe there are 82 games left there are 82 games in hockey, if I remember correctly. I'm not a huge hockey guy, but I know I should know the schedule and stuff. I'm pretty sure I'm 99% sure it's 82 games. And yeah, so one game left to play. We'll see how this turns out. I mean, looking at a lot of this stuff, the Capitals don't really look like a playoff team. They have a minus 38 goal differential. They're not doing so hot this year. I'd like to maybe see the Pittsburgh Penguins get in there. Maybe Detroit squeeze back in, because I know Detroit likes to call themselves Hockey Tan. So does Pittsburgh. They like to call themselves Hockey Tan. So it's fun to see what's going to happen in the playoffs. But once the playoffs start, be interested. Once the playoffs start, trust me, tune into hockey. I know I'll be tuning into the NHL playoffs once they start in about a week. Or I believe this weekend. So I will 100% be tuning into those when those start. But going back to this Saturday night, and I got the blessing of watching UFC 300 over at a bar. I had a bunch of fun with a friend at a bar to watch UFC 300. But my, oh my, did this card live up to the hype. Obviously, you have a card that is as stacked as UFC 300 is. You're sitting there with a card that's got, you know what I mean? You got Pereira, you got Sweet James Jamal Hill coming back, trying to get his strap back. You got Wei Lee, who's arguably the most dominant women's strawweight champion ever. It has countless fights that are up there with some of the best fights of all time. You have Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje. That can't not live up to the hype. You got Charles Oliveira on this card. You got Bo Nickel on this card. You got Yuri Prohaska. You got Aljo going up in weight. Kayla Harrison making her debut. Money Moisiano. You got Andrade down there. Jim Miller versus Bobby Green. You got... And then obviously to start the card was Davison Figueiredo versus Cody Garbrandt. And just top down... Every fight that on Saturday night was so entertaining. I didn't realize it started at 6 o'clock. I thought it started at 8, like most cards. So I did miss I did miss watching the whole Figueiredo fight and the whole Bobby Green fight, where I had to watch those highlights. Shout out Bobby Green for absolutely pummeling Jim effing Miller. Just really a masterclass out there. Bobby Green, I'm looking at it right now. 187 strikes compared to 57 strikes, a knockdown. And then obviously just gets the UD. And an amazing performance out of Bobby Green. Same thing with Figueiredo. Surprised a lot of people with getting a submission. I mean, has proven that he got ground game before. He found what made Cody Garbrandt uncomfortable, got him on the ground, got him in a rear naked, did very good there. And then you go to the Jessica Andrade fight against Marina Rodriguez. That was an extremely close fight. Andrade was tapping her, doing a very good job. But Marina Rodriguez did a good job at getting Andrade to the ground, something that a lot of people struggle with. Got a submission attempt in there. Got a lot of weird. Was able to control the fight in a lot of different ways. I mean, Marina didn't get the win. Andrade did get the split decision win, and I agree with the decision. But I mean, it was an extremely close fight. Marina Rodriguez looked good, impressed me, especially as someone who didn't know her very well. Definitely put her on the map for me. Having such a close fight with a legend like Jessica Andrade at the weight she did fight her at. So shout out Marina Rodriguez, even though she didn't get the win. No reason to be completely discouraged from her performance. It was an impressive performance. Obviously couldn't get the dub, but to be able to get someone like Andrade to the ground, not only get her to the ground, be able to control her, keep her down, get a couple start a couple submission attempts, get a full submission attempt in by the books is big. I mean, only 7 less strikes than Andrade, who's a big, heavy striker, usually has a lot of volume, so kept Andrade on her toes as well and just did a very good job. Moving up on that card again, Money Moisiano gets the TKO in the second round. And this one was also a really good fight. Jalen Turner got that knockdown early, should have finished, decided not to. I was watching Demetrius Johnson yesterday break down the fights, and he said it perfectly. Obviously, Jalen Turner, you got to finish. You can't hesitate like that. You have all this going on. You just can't. You can't be that confident. As weird as it is to say, as confident as you have to be a fighter, obviously, you can't just sit there and not throw the follow-up strikes. You gotta. Demetrius Johnson on his YouTube video was calling it the Zombieland technique, and I like that. You can't just get the kill shot, or you can't just. You shoot him once, he's not dead. You got to make sure he's dead. You know what I mean? You got to make sure you get the kill shot. So, I do like that comparison out of Demetrius Johnson. Jalen Turner, you got to go out there and prove. Got to make sure he's dead. You got to you got to finish the job. And you weren't able to. Moisiano was able to recover in between rounds, obviously. Catches him with a nice right hook. I'm trying to recall. A lot of fights that night. I'm sorry, a lot of fights. I want to say, I was watching film on it yesterday too. I want to say it was a right hook. I want to say gets him with a nice right hook, drops Jalen Turner, gets the follow-up strikes. It was a good performance out of both of them, but a good comeback win out of Moisiano to get the TKO, to knock down Jalen Turner after obviously getting rocked in that first round. It's tough to come back, have that confidence. His coaches obviously said good stuff in the corner. The coaches talked well, and Money Moisiano was able to get that finish. And a good one at that, too. A very, very good one for Moisiano. He's been on a little bit of a win streak, if I remember. He's definitely recently, what's that, 3 straight for him. Got the decision win over Drew Dober. I think everybody remembers when he beat that dude Brad Rydell on the Adesanya card, and he had that funny press conference on the Adesanya Pereira card. Does it again against a very good fighter at that. I think that's going to put him in the top 15 as well, more likely than not. So hopefully a good opponent for Moisiano in his next fight. You could probably see him fighting on the main card in his next fight. He was just fighting, at this point he just fought on 300, which is why he was fighting so low. But an impressive win out of Moisiano, and I expect a big opponent for him next, moving up now, more likely than not, into the top 15. I mean, I didn't look up the standings, but I can pull up the fighter rankings right now because I'm assuming if today's Tuesday, that they came out. Yeah, they did because Holloway went up. Adesanya moved down. A lot of people moved, but in that case, yeah, Moisiano's in the top 10. So, hopefully he could get an impressive, a good opponent. I'd like to see him looking at the ranking, maybe fight like a Dariush or a Fizev. Those are, I think, would be interesting. Maybe a Gamarot, I think, would be extremely interesting. So that's fun. That one will be definitely fun there. Um, yeah, I don't know, but yeah, Moisiano's big win for him. Gets the top 10 victory, squeezes into the top 10. Huge, huge, huge. Diego Lopez versus Sadiq Youssef. Diego Lopez, obviously, since winning at, I want to say it was the contender. It was the contender series. I remember that. But or no, he lost in the contender series, but it was a UD, and it was an impressive one. A lot. I remember Dana loved him after being in the contender series, and then, I mean, you look at his first two fights, back-to-back losses. Now he's sitting at 3-2, got his third straight win, third straight finish as well. Fought back 295 on the Prohaska Pereira card. I remember that against Sabatini and got a quick knockout. Such an impressive knockout against Sabatini. Does it again against Sadiq Youssef. And I mean, as a 145er, I was just looking at the rankings. I don't know if they threw him in the rankings yet. I mean, Umar's there. Yeah, no, they did. All right, so he now entering the top 15, so a big win for him. Looking at the rest of the top 15, the way that Diego fights too, maybe a Bryce Mitchell, maybe an Edson Bart. Everyone above him, like right above him, I think would be a lot of fun to see. I think a lot of those people would be very interesting to see. With obviously you got Diego Lopez in at 14. Dan Ige would be an interesting fight. Barboza, Mitchell. Anyone right outside that top 10. I don't know if he's ready for a top 10 fight yet. Maybe off the loss to Aljo, you could give him someone like Calvin Couture, however you say it. I've heard so many people say it differently. If anybody can correct me, let me know, please. I don't know if it's Calvin Couture, Calvin Couture, Calvin, I don't know. I've heard John Anik himself say it like 7 different ways. But you can see a lot of interesting fights there for Diego Lopez, 110% for what for what he was able to do, and how he's been able to put together a lot of good wins. Kayla Harrison, what an impressive win by Kayla Harrison. In her debut, just looked so good against Holly Holm. Absolutely dominant. I spoke about this last week on Tuesday, just how if Kayla Harrison is able to take this to the ground, the fight's over. Holly Holm needs to keep it standing up. And as much as I was rooting for Holly Holm, she's a legend in the game. I think everybody knew she was outclassed when it came to grappling against a 2-time Olympic gold medalist judo winner. And Kayla Harrison, she looked so good. She looked let's start here. She looked absolutely yoked. She looked yoked. And I mean that in the best way possible. She looked ripped. Her back looked huge. Like, she looked so ready to be in an octagon, ready to get a win, ready to fight in the UFC. And in a bantamweight division that, since the absence of Amanda Nunes, is extremely weak. Right now, Rocky Pennington isn't a terrible champion, but I see Kayla Harrison doing exactly what she just did to Holly Holm to Rocky Pennington. I think, hey, if the Lioness wants to come back, that would be a dream fight. Obviously, I love Amanda Nunes. She's in my opinion the greatest women's fighter of all time. She's not Ronda. Ronda's the pioneer, but she's the You know what I mean? There's the pioneer, there's the person who made it relevant, which is Ronda. Ronda made women's MMA relevant. And then there's the GOAT, which is Amanda. Amanda Nunes is the greatest women's fighter of all time, in my opinion. So obviously, I'd love to see her back in the octagon. But, like, after such a dominant win, how do you put Kayla Harrison against anybody else? You know what I'm saying? Like, how do you put her against anyone else? I guess maybe you go like get. I guess because it is only her first fight, maybe you give her like a Juliana Pena and then you give her Rocky Pennington because Juliana Pena could wrestle. But Juliana Pena hasn't fought in what since the Nunes fight. Like, I know I could be wrong about that. I haven't paid attention to Juliana Pena in a while, but like Juliana Pena has not fought in an extremely long time. Sorry if you guys hear that noise in the background. The music studio's going off next to me. I tried to tell them to turn it down before, but they didn't. But yeah, but just a dominant, such a dominant performance out of out of Kayla Harrison. She looked so good. Just was able to take her to the ground the whole fight, dominant. I mean, you looking at the stats too. Like, Holly Holm got 2 strikes in the whole fight. That is insane, bro. I just shout out Kayla Harrison. What a dominant UFC debut. Finally here, like she said in her post-fight presser. She's been waiting to be interviewed by Joe Rogan for a while. She's been waiting to be here for a while. We have been waiting for her for a while. Obviously fought at 165, I believe, or 155. It was either one. I think it was 165 she fought at over at the PLL. So had to cut some weight, but nonetheless she looked so good. Looked yoked in there. Looked big. Looked ready to fight. Came out absolute dominant performance. Gets a submission win. And like I said, I can't wait to see who they have her up against next. I could see her headlining a fight night already in her next card. I think it'll be so much fun to see what the future of her in the UFC can be. Just in the way she fights and in a division that needs the star power, like I said. You have Rocky Pennington right now. You have Rocky Pennington, but I don't know if she could beat Kayla Harrison. You have Juliana Pena, who talks all that trash about how Amanda Nunes was quote unquote running from her at the end of her career. Sure, you could believe that if you want to be insane. I think Kayla Harrison can wipe the floor with her as well. Like, I think it's a division that needs someone like Kayla Harrison. That strawweight or that bantamweight division, that women's bantamweight division, is one that's never really had traction in general outside of when Amanda Nunes was here. So it's big for, I think her coming over is going to be huge for the UFC. And that, I think that performance that she put on Saturday just proves it 100%. Aljo, Calvin Qatar, you know, I just went on that whole rant of, I don't know. Aljo did what Aljo was supposed to do. I think Demetrius Johnson, I was watching him beforehand, afterhand. Izzy said it as well. I like watching both of them leading up to fights a lot. I like their YouTube channels. But I like to sing the Dora song, the backpack, 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 backpack. That's what Aljo's best at, man, is being a little backpack and just absolutely. A lot of people said this going into the fight. I thought it was going to be the opposite. I didn't realize that Aljo was such a big. I didn't realize his weight cuts down to 145 were so. Or not 145, 135, right? Is that division? Yeah. I didn't realize his cuts down to 135 were so difficult. So, being able to fight at 145, being able to get that done at featherweight. Just really big for Aljo to be able to for the Funk Master Aljamain Sterling. No, but yeah, really just a very good performance out of him. Classic Aljo. That's the Aljamain Sterling that we saw that won the belt. Like that's the Aljo that was defending titles. That's not. Once you saw him try to stand up with someone, that's when Aljo tends to make his mistakes. When he tries to outbox other boxers. That's what he did against Sean O'Malley. And you saw him when he came across what many people call the void. When he came across the middle, he got caught reaching and got caught with a nice overhand check hook. It happens. He came back. He has more weight on him. Was able to just hop on Calvin Kattar's back. I mean, 8 takedowns is absolutely ridiculous. Just every time he stood up, it felt like he was dragging him right back down to the ground, right back down to the floor. Aljo did such a good job at positioning against the cage. Just absolute, like I said, just using his weight against Calvin Kattar to just tire him out consistently throughout the fight for like just 3 rounds. Just backpacked him for 3 rounds. Sat there, backpacked him, popped him 1, 2, 3, and just kept his positioning well against the cage. Kept the legs tied, just trip after trip after trip. Like I said, 8 takedowns is absolutely ridiculous, and an impressive win. A good win for Aljo in a division that he's wanted to come up to for a while. Before he lost the belt to Sean O'Malley, he wanted to fight Volk. He wanted to do the title fight as a champion. He had the right to do so. And if he didn't lose to Sean O'Malley, he probably would have got that fight. But I mean, now going up in weight, moving up to 145, I like where he's at a lot. I like who you could put him up against in this division too. Like I think him against like I'm shooting for a high profile fight already, but I think we could see him against like a Funkmaster against a T City. I think would be such a fun fight to schedule at at maybe like 305, 306 down the line. In this division for Aljo, I think is just such a good idea. I think it'll be something that you'll be able to build on with Aljamain Sterling in this division. I think he could be, I don't know, I want to say I think he could be a contender in this division, but I'll be honest, do I think that he's beating Ilya? You get my point? No offense, man. No offense. But, like, can Aljamain Sterling beat Ilya Topuria? That's, I don't know. Now, you look at the rest of the top of that division, though. I'd love to see, like I said, I'd love to see him against Arnold Allen, even if you want to give him, like, something light. I don't want to call Arnold Allen light. Arnold Allen is a very good fighter, but I'm saying I think Aljo has the skills to beat Arnold Allen. If you want, I'm saying if you want to give him a lower profile. But you look at, like, after such a dominant win over a fight like Calvin Kattar, too, I think as the matchmakers in the UFC, you have to be looking at that top 5. You got to be looking at, like, Aljo versus Yair, or Aljo versus Ortega, or Aljo Volk even. Just one of those fights that we've been waiting for a while, I think would be such a good idea for the UFC. After we've now seen that Aljo at 145 it is just as, if not more dangerous than Aljo at 135. It's that simple, if I'm being completely honest. It's true. It's that true and that simple. He looked a lot more comfortable. He's able to use his weight a lot more now. You know, he's used to faster fighters at 135, so, like, he's now the fast fighter. He's now the small, fast guy at 145. So, I think it's a perfect situation for Aljo to be in right now. Going up to 145, I think it was such a good idea, win or lose, after that Sean O'Malley fight, to go up to 135, or 145, sorry, and go after that strap. Just, it's a stacked division, don't get me wrong, but he looked, like I said, he just looked so much more comfortable at featherweight over bantamweight. That I think he can be a competitor. It's just once you get to those dudes who you can't take down, that you can't cross the void with at all, like an Ilya, like a Max Holloway, it gets scary. Even a Yair, I think stylistically is rough for Aljo, just because those are types of dudes that if they catch you crossing the void for a takedown, you are getting rocked. And Aljo has proven that he doesn't have the greatest chin in the world. He doesn't have the greatest chin. He's gotten caught before. He's gotten caught many times before in his career. So I'd like to see him against another wrestler first to see if he could beat one of those higher tier wrestlers at 145 because he's a high tier wrestler at 145 now. So I'm calling for a T City versus Aljo fight. Hey, Aljamain Sterling, Brian Ortega, if y'all are for some reason watching my insanely small show, seeing my insanely small shows, YouTube clips or TikTok clips or whatever, watching me bounce up and down as I'm talking to y'all, please, I'd love that fight. I think every UFC fan would absolutely love that fight. Just, I think it'd be so much. I think that'd be a great fight. Moving on to the main card of this fight. I know, I'm sorry, guys. I'm talking big UFC. It's just, UFC 300 is a big deal. What can I say? UFC 300 is a big deal. Yuri Prohaska, what a performance out of him. He gets the TKO, bouncing back after his KO loss to the still light heavyweight champion Alex Potan Pereira. Yuri bounces back at the end in the second round. I think personally Yuri looked very good. He even got a takedown in this fight. I think he looked a lot better, honestly, if I'm going to be completely honest and break it down. I think he looked a lot better than he looked against Alex. I think his striking was there. Obviously connected very well with that. I'm trying to remember which strike it was. I'm sorry, just after that Max Holloway Justin Gaethje fight, it's hard to remember any other fight from 300 like strike wise. And I know I was rewatching most of them yesterday or saw highlights while I was watching breakdowns, but I want to say Yuri caught him with an uppercut, if I remember correctly, and dropped him. But a very good fight out of Prohaska. Just, gets the performance of the night bonus. So obviously a good fight out of Prohaska. Very big of him to be able to bounce back. Outstruck Rocket by 10 strikes. Just looked very pinpoint, was patient the whole time, wasn't rushing, didn't feel... it didn't feel like... you see in a lot of fights, especially coming off of title losses, when you lose in a title fight, you see a lot of fighters, especially ones who are well known for striking like a Yuri Prohaska. You tend to see them a lot in that next fight try to go out and impress. And even though Yuri did, it didn't look like he was trying to, if you get what I'm saying. Yuri looked patient. He was extremely pinpoint, very calculated. He cared more about a win than an impress, and he ended up doing both. And very talented, very good fight out of the Czech Samurai. Very big win for him in that division where, I don't know if they're going to give him the title rematch, especially after Jamal Hill got slept like that. I think they maybe might have Yuri fight Ankalev again. He already knocked out Ankalev, though. So I don't know. If you could get Jan back in the octagon, Yuri is yet to beat Jan. I think putting him... But I don't know. You could easily give him the title shot again against Alex. See if he could figure out this absolute, apparently, puzzle that is Alex Pereira striking-wise. It is just impossible to do anything. It's crazy, and I'm not talking about the main event right away, but it's crazy. His power is insane, man. His power is insane. And, Yuri gets a big win, gets a KO win. I would like him to. I'd like to see him fight someone else before he fights Alex already in a rematch. Like I don't like personally when they do this like one fight in between then bounce back. Like if you feel like they're that much above everyone, then this Rocket fight shouldn't even happen. Obviously, it should have happened. They were that close. If you looked at the betting lines, they were extremely close. Rakic is an extremely similar stylistic fighter to Yuri Prohaska. At least going into the fight, it felt that way. So obviously, I'm not saying that where like it was a bad deal by the matchmakers. I think obviously going into the fight, this was the fight to make. But if you're gonna just give Yuri a title shot again after this, I'm not loving it because it seems like those are the only two light heavyweights fighting. So I'd love to see Yuri fight Jan for the number one contender spot, and the winner of that gets a title shot again. You know, I'd love to see Alex Pereira versus Jan Blachowicz. Like I'd love to see that. I think that would be an absolute blast of a fight if you want to just give Jan a title shot right away too. He's good enough. He's proven it. So I think those are fights to make before you give Yuri another title shot, in my opinion. But nonetheless, a great performance out of Yuri Prohaska. Like I said, gets the performance of the night bonus as well. Gets a nice $300K on top of that. So shout out to Czech Samurai. A great performance out of him. Bo Nickel, this one I could talk about in 2 seconds. Bo Nickel dominated. Just absolutely dominated. I mean, Cody Bunrich did put on the best performance for someone fighting Bo Nickel, but Bo Nickel dominated. I mean, only threw 8 strikes. Bo Nickel's not a big stand-up guy. He looked disappointed. I think Bo Nickel wanted to get a knockout, and Cody Bunrich was excuse me. I think Bo Nickel did really want to get a knockout, but I think Cody Bunrich was tapping him on the feet, and he kind of couldn't figure out how to that whole. I mean, he only got 4 strikes in, but that's what I mean. Like, I think Cody Bunrich caught him with a couple early, gets those 4 strikes, and at that point, Bo Nickel took him down 4 times, tried 2 submissions, ends up getting that rear naked choke late. Yeah, I mean, I don't hate Bo Nickel. I don't love him. He hasn't proved to me that he's the star that the UFC is trying to push him to be just because of how he fights. Not a lot of people love it. Not a lot of people love this. Pretty much I refuse to stand up. Not in a BJJ sense where he's just pulling guard, but in a sense of I'm in his opinion, he's the best middleweight wrestler in the world. He is the best 155? But I don't remember the exact way. I think the middleweight's 155. But he's the best 155er in the world. He's the best at doing this. It's that simple to him. So why do anything else? Why, if it ain't broke, don't fix it, whole spiel. So, and I think a lot of people don't like it. It's not an exciting brand of fighting. I don't love it because it's not an exciting brand of fighting. But to say that it's not a dominant brand of fighting would be an incorrect statement because obviously he's sitting here at, 9-0 now after that fight? And just has finished pretty much everyone in his career. So, a great win for Bo Nickel. An extremely impressive win for Bo Nickel. Just not the... I don't even think that was the win... Excuse me. But I don't even think that was the win he wanted. I don't. I think he wanted to knock him out. I think he 100% wanted to knock him out. It just didn't happen. Arman Sirkin. I heard them say in the broadcast. I still can't get it down, so I'm just gonna call him Arman. Fights Charlie Olives, and this one wasn't. See, this is what's weird. Is people say they hate wrestling and then you got a fight like this. This was a sneaky, exciting fight, especially on the ground. Charlie Olives did Charlie Olives things, snuck in a lot of sneaky submissions. I think it clicked in my head that maybe Charlie Olives wasn't going to be able to get this done, and Arman was a lot better than we all thought. When Arman was able to eat that guillotine in the first in the first round. Like that was Volkanovski versus Brian Ortega, uh, Volk eating that guillotine level. Like that guillotine was in deep. Also, the Darce at the end of the fight was in. Both of those submissions were in deep and extremely close to putting him out both times. He was able to battle through both of them, stay conscious, and escape at least escape the guillotine. Obviously, the fight ended with the other. The clock ran out with the other submission. He didn't feel the need to try to escape and waste energy. He just alleviated pressure. There wasn't full pressure on his neck, and he let time run out. But just being able to get out of that guillotine alone kind of scared me for the rest of the fight of Charlie Olives, because if you're not able to put him away there, when are you going to be able to put him away? I mean, they both had a couple nice exchanges as well. Definitely, I mean, Charlie Olives got outstruck 49-19 according to UFC's official website, but those 19 were definitely, there were some strikes in there. There were some nice exchanges between the two while standing. It was a good fight. Split decision, a close fight, like I said, because Charlie Olives was so sneaky on the ground. Looked like prime Oliveira, in my opinion, looked just as good as he always has, even though he wasn't able to get the win. Sneaky Darces, sneaking in guillotines, sneaking in. I felt like the triangle was there all night. I thought the triangle was there all night, and he never tried it. That was one thing I did notice. I felt like the triangle was there all night, and he didn't really feel like trying it. I don't know what Charlie saw. I mean, he's the professional fighter. I'm not. But I thought that was there all night for him. Oh, damn. Then, I'm gonna talk about this fight last. I'm gonna talk about the Holloway fight last, because I could go on for days about that fight. Weili, Yan Zohan, what a dominant performance out of Weili. I think that fight should have been ended at the end of the first round. I think Yan Zohan was out with that Darce. That was another Darce choke. But I think, if you look back at that replay, she was limp, woke back up, and got up and was wobbly. I think the fight should have just been ended there. I mean, Yan Zohan obviously got her wits back about her, was able to go 5 rounds, got a couple nice strikes in, got a knockdown. Did make it a little interesting, but I was surprised the fight wasn't stopped there, and then Weili just did Weili things. 106 strikes, 106 to 43. Just 6 takedowns, 2 submission attempts. One, I think, put her out. I think one put her out like a light. So, to me, a submission victory, too. She won by decision and submission in the same fight, in my opinion. Because, I think Yan was out by that original Darce choke at the end of that first round. So, but they didn't call it. They let it go. They let it go. It kept going. Weili kind of dominated that whole fight, though. It was pretty simple. On to the main event, Alex Pereira. My, oh my. This is what I was going to say before when I said I don't want to talk about the main event right now. Alex Pereira is the oddest puzzle in the UFC that I have ever seen, in UFC history. And the reason for this is this. I think it is extremely known at this point. Alex Pereira, once he fights a wrestler, is going to struggle. Here's the thing. Is someone going to be able to last long enough to take him down? Obviously, we all saw the interviews of Jamal Hill on Demetrius Johnson's podcast, on ESPN, everywhere he went. We saw Jamal Hill all over social media saying he's going to knock out Poatan. So I'm not saying Jamal Hill was going to be the guy to try to take him down, but we've seen time and time again that standing for even a minute and 35 seconds, standing for even 2 minutes, 3 minutes with this dude, it's not good enough. It's just too long to be standing up with this man. He's too strong. And I said it to people at the bar. I said it to my friends leading up to the fight. I said it to people, my friends, when we were watching the prelims at my house. Alex Pereira is the only man who I've seen with such strength that I literally, like, don't get me wrong, Francis Ngannou was the first for me, where it was like, oh my God, this man has unreal power. Pereira's power is almost fake to me. Like, it almost seems fake. The way that Alex Pereira, like, it doesn't even look like he's throwing hard punches. I wouldn't be surprised if Alex Pereira, like, dropped someone with just a normal, just like a jab. Just went boom, and someone just fell like rocks. That's how scary strong this guy is. It's insane. And you saw it there with Jamal Hill. Obviously, everybody, if you have social media and follow any sports account on social media, you saw the low blow, the kick it to the cup by Jamal Hill. Alex waves him off, immediately gets the knockdown. Obviously, yes, badass. Very, very, very cool. Also, very heads up out of Alex, because Alex Pereira is a striker, obviously a Hall of Fame kickboxer over at over in Glory, is a Hall of Fame kickboxer. So obviously he knows if that fight is stopped in that moment, he loses his rhythm. He knows that. He waves Herb Dean off and gets a beautiful upper. It's technically an uppercut. I heard someone, it was either, I think it was Chael Sonnen, when he was talking about the fight, described what the type of uppercut is called. Because the type of uppercut that was thrown, it's like a mixture of a hook and an uppercut. It's thrown like this, and that's why it's like that glancing blow. But nonetheless, like an extremely strong punch that rocked Jamal Hill, and Alex Pereira followed up and put him out. Just put him out. That's what Pereira does. He's the scariest man to stand in front of right now. And I was speaking about this before when I brought up Yuri, and I was talking about this division. Right now, personally, I would absolutely love to see Pereira fight Jan Blachowicz. I think stylistically they're so different that it will go so well. I think Blachowicz is someone who's going to try to do different stuff that we've never seen someone try to do to Alex Pereira. I do think Blachowicz won't be scared to stand up with him. He wasn't scared to stand up with Yuri. But I also think Blachowicz is someone who can take it to the ground, change levels, and really make Alex think for the first time in his career. I think that if I'm a matchmaker, in my opinion, that's the fight to make. Is Pereira Blachowicz, 100%, 100%, man. I think it works well. I'm a huge Blachowicz fan. I'd love to see him back in the octagon as well. I think, yeah, I mean, Blachowicz, I think, is the type of dude to definitely level change on Alex as well. So, I think it's, I mean, because also, you look at that division, it's so, like, I hate to say this about the light heavyweight division, but it's, like, I'm not giving Johnny Walker a title shot right now. Obviously, Rakic just lost to Prohaska, so you're not giving him a title shot. Ankalaev just lost to, Ankalaev just won in his last fight. So, I mean, maybe you give Ankalaev a title shot. But Ankalaev, I don't know. I mean, we haven't seen Jan in a while. That's why I think maybe you do that instead. The whole Yuri-Jan rematch, winner gets a title shot. But, like, outside of that, just, I mean, that division's kind of weak. The division is kind of weak. Yeah, I don't know. That's a fight. I'd love to see that fight. I would love to see that fight so much. And then obviously, this wasn't the main event, but it goddamn felt like it. Max Holloway versus Justin Gaethje for the BMF belt. And as Max Holloway calls it, he is one blessed man forever. That's how I'll say it on the air because I can't curse. He is one blessed man forever after that fight. He is one BMF. Now, don't get me wrong. Justin Gaethje is just as a BMF. Justin Gaethje is a dangerous man to stand in an octagon with. And I'm one of those people who I completely believe that, honestly, I think Holloway had the fight won. I think a lot of people would agree with that statement that Max had the fight won. He had the fight won 5 rounds to none at that point. Like, he was up 50-45. He didn't have to do what he did at the end of that fight at all, by any means. But he did, and he did for a reason, because he knew he knew he was fighting for a BMF championship. And I mean, I said it, man. I was hoping for it. When I said it, I didn't think it was actually going to happen. I said it at the bar. I go, bro, last 10 seconds, I hope Max points down to that center of the octagon and says, let's do it. He does the Lamas thing. And he did it. And oh my, did Max Holloway put together... I think Joe Rogan was right. I think Max Holloway put together the greatest knockout in UFC history. First of all, let's start here. Obviously, like I just said, Max Holloway was winning the fight. 2, to do that with Ricardo Lamas is one thing. Obviously, everybody's professional fighters. But to do that with Ricardo Lamas is one thing. To do that with Justin Gaethje, to look at, man, even though you're up in a fight, especially knowing you're up in a fight 5 rounds to none, to look at a man as dangerous as the highlight, Justin Gaethje, and point to the center of the octagon and say, let's just throw. That is a confident move out of you, Mr. Max Holloway. And Max Holloway has said it in the octagon before. He's the best boxer in the UFC. He thinks he's the best boxer in the UFC. And man, did he prove it. A masterclass. A masterclass. Through 309 total strikes. All of them considered significant for both fighters. Every punch thrown in that fight from both fighters was considered significant. It didn't count on the books, but Holloway gets knocked down, and I think in everyone's opinion, Holloway gets knocked down for the first time in his career, even though, yes, I know UFC for some reason didn't count it, so he's technically still perfect, but we all watched that fight. Holloway gets put down for the first time in his career. Gaethje didn't look bad, but was getting beat. And to do that, to stand in the middle of the octagon and go, let's brawl, and throw such a beautiful overhand right to not just knock down Justin Gaethje, to get a buzzer beater knockout and put him in the shadow realm. Just a beautiful, you see the way they were throwing. He felt Gaethje had a little combo there. And he felt Gaethje was hitting the body. Gaethje threw 1, 2, was throwing another one at the body, and you see Holloway throw one at the body and just sneak that overhand right on top, hits Gaethje flush in the temple, and just put him out cold. And just Dana White explained it perfectly. There was no reaction but oh shit. Oh my God. There was no reaction, just what a moment, just what a absolute everyone, like that is what you live for, honestly. That is what the UFC was built for. To have that moment at 300 is so perfect for Dana White, for the UFC, and it was such an amazing, amazing fight. Holloway now showing he could fight at 145. I think him versus Ilya is an absolute blast of a fight. If they want to make that. I mean, going up in weight, getting one fight, and getting a title shot, I do think is kind of... I do think that would be the UFC pushing Max Holloway extremely heavy. But I don't know, man. Are you trying to tell me you don't want to see him fight Ilia Topuria? Especially after what we just saw? Like, to see him fight Ilia Topuria would be an absolute... It'd be just as good as a fight as the Gaethje fight. Because those dudes are Now that is like a pure like that is gonna be that might look like a boxing match. Is how technical fight boxing wise that one will get. I would love to see that. He obviously called out Ilya at the end there. He also called out Islam if he wants to fight if he Islam's a big fight, but I mean I'd love to see him fight Ilya. I think that's just a perfect fight to make. Is Holloway Ilya? Holloway could drop weight again, look fast, be longer, be confident because he just knocked out the highlight. So I mean, just Ilya Taporia, look out. I think if there's anybody right now who could beat Ilya, it's Max Holloway too. Like especially looking at that division, it's either Volk could beat him in a rematch or Max Holloway could beat him. Those are the only two people in the featherweight division that could beat Ilya Taporia, because that man is an absolute animal. That man is an animal, and I would love to see Max Holloway versus Ilya Taporia. I would love that. 300 was great, man. 300 was so good. And now we're gonna follow that up this weekend with hockey playoffs and basketball playoffs. I'm about to see the Knicks be a 2 seed. Shout out the Knicks, man. Jalen Brunson's a dog. I want to look that up. I was talking about that earlier. Jalen Brunson, man. The Knicks got a 2 seed. You look at Jalen Brunson over the past, what is this? Give me the whole logs here. Jalen Brunson, since March 29th of this year. So what is that? Over the past 2 weeks. Has 1 game under 30 points. And it's in Miami. Hence why I don't want to play Miami, by the way. Has 1 game under 30 points. And he still dropped 20 and 10 against the Heat. This man is so good. He's just, oh my God. Dropped 40 last night against the Bulls. Or not last night. 2 nights ago against the Bulls. 30 against the Nets. 39 against the Celtics the last week. It's just absolute animal. I can't wait to watch the Knicks go in the playoffs. I mean, I'd love to go live. I probably can't afford it. Knowing the Knicks, especially being a 2 seed right now, those Garden tickets are probably out of this world. But they're on a roll right now. Obviously, we have OG back. We got no Julius Randle for the playoffs, but it doesn't seem to be that bad of a deal. Mitch is back. OG's back. Josh Hart. We're 99% healthy, and we're playing well. Going into the playoffs on what? I think a 4-game win streak, a 3-game win streak. If I remember correctly, we've won our last 3. Yeah, they won against the Bulls last night, or the other day in OT. Yeah. Were they going to the playoffs? Winning 3 straight? Yeah. So, yeah, we're going to the playoffs winning 3 straight. We're feeling confident winning, what is that, 4 of our last 5. So, I'm very confident in the Knicks, especially in the first round. Like I said this earlier when I was going on the rant about them. I'd love to see them maybe I'd love to see them play the Sixers more than the Heat. I think we struggle against the Heat. We've struggled against the Heat the past couple years. So, yeah. I don't know. They play on Saturday. Saturday is our first playoff game, so that'll be exciting. And hockey playoffs also start on Saturday. I don't know what the hell is going on in hockey. I just know hockey playoffs start, and all of a sudden becomes the most exciting sport to watch. So I'll catch up on all my storylines, my players, my thises, my that's, this weekend in the first round when they all tell me what the hell's going on ESPN. So that'll be great. Yankees. Yankees they lost last 2. They need pitching. I don't say they need pitching. They need Garrett Cole back. We'll start there. They need Garrett Cole back. Our relievers aren't great, but that's been a struggle. I think Yankee fans should have expected relief pitching to be a problem this year. But I mean, we're hitting the ball. The Yankees are hitting the ball exceptionally well this year from what I've watched. I mean, I haven't watched a game in about a week. I've been a little lackluster with watching them. But nonetheless, they've been hitting the ball pretty well. That the top half of our lineup has just been playing so well. Volpe, even though we lost our last two games, Volpe's been on a solid little streak here the past couple of games. He's been putting the bat on the ball very well. Not only that, obviously Juan Soto's been a huge impact. Verdugo's, even though I know I said top half of the lineup and Verdugo's not that, but Verdugo's been playing well in the field. Judge started to put it together a little better. Rizzo's been getting on base very well so far this year. They're a very good Yankee team, and they're hitting the ball very well. It's just obviously with the pitching problems that they have at the moment, I do worry when it comes to the late season, especially, we're sitting here, we're 18 games into the year. You got 182 games to play. You know what I mean? Total games to play. You got, what is that, 165 games left? Or it's 162 games, right? Sorry, I said 182. You got 162 games, so what is that? You got 135 games left? Something like that. 145 games left. So you got a lot of time if you're the Yankees, obviously. Only 17 games into the year. So there are things that I've seen from this team that do definitely worry me, like the pitching. I'd love to get a relief pitcher at some point this year. Maybe call some dude up. I don't know what's deep in the farm system, but I'd love for that relief pitching to be able to get better. I mean, we're sitting in a stacked division. Baltimore's good. Tampa's good. Toronto's beating us right now. So I'd love for them to be able to put it together tonight after they haven't been able to the past 2 days. But yeah, I mean, Gil had a tough outing last night, but he's been good as Garrett Cole's been out. He's been playing fairly well, but I think the rotation needs to get a little deeper if we're looking at a World Series team, and that's the truth. That's how I feel about the Yankees. See, Mike, I didn't watch the game last night. That makes sense. That's a rough outing. I did miss the game last night. If them going 0 for 11 is rough. They have to make that up. You got to make up for that tonight. That's 100%. You got to make up for that tonight. Because that is 0 for 11 and 0 for 11 from those threes. You're not winning a game if you're the Yankees with that. 110%. You are not winning a game with the Yankees like that. But yeah. Hopefully they can put it together tonight. Hopefully they could hit well tonight. Get back to at least how they were playing a week ago when I was watching them. You know what I mean? Like I said, I've been lackluster. I haven't really caught up with them in a week, so I'm a little behind on how they've been playing. I know they got that big doubleheader win a couple days ago against the Guardians, but besides that, I kind of been lackluster, been stuck with homework. I do want to end the show on this note. I do want to talk about this because it is this season. It is draft season. And I know last year I spoke a lot more about the NFL draft than I did this year. Just because this year's NFL draft seems so... I don't know, man. It seems done already. You know what I mean? The draft is next week. It's a week from Thursday. So it starts it's not this Thursday. The following Thursday is the first round of the draft. It's going to be April 25th. And the elusive Peter Schrager mock draft did drop, I believe, this morning. And it was interesting. I'm going to pull it up right here because I didn't think I was going to talk about the draft today. I didn't think I was going to go live for this long, but... we're here. I got another 15 minutes I could run, so I'm gonna run till 3 o'clock. So I mean, the elusive Schrager mock draft did come out today, though, and I mean, Schrager's got a lot of interesting stuff. Schrager's got his in. Schrager knows a lot of people. Schrager knows a lot of people. He's one of my idols from Freehold, New Jersey. Shout out Peter Schrager. He's got Caleb going 1, no surprise. He's got Jalen Daniels going 2, no surprise. Those seem set in stone almost at this point. Now, number 3, Drake May of the Patriots. He's got 3 quarterbacks going off, and I can very much see that. I think if there's an order to go in quarterbacks, that's the order to go. I like Jalen Daniels over Drake May. I think both of them. It depends on the system and the coach, and both of them, whether they go 2 or 3, are going into systems with new head coaches. So that whole situation will be interesting in general. I mean, if Gerard Mayo is keeping this whole Patriot way type of thing, I think Drake May could fit well into that system more than Jalen Daniels will, even though I think Jalen Daniels is more of a playmaker. It matters what you want to do. Maybe you want Drake May to... I know this is a crazy sentence to say. Maybe you want Drake May to sit behind... Oh, wait, no, I'm stupid. You traded Mac Jones. So, I mean, yeah. Day 1 starter, I would take Jalen Daniels. But, obviously, if Jaden Daniels isn't there at 3, you got to take Drake May if you're New England. So, I think 1, 2, 3 being those quarterbacks, at this point, to most people, is pretty set in stone. I think that's what everyone's saying. Schefter, Ian Rappaport, everybody, all the mock drafts. I mean, obviously, at the end of the day, anything could happen. But it seems like these are the top 3. Now, the big one I want to talk about is what Schrager has at 4. At 4, Schrager has the Cardinals trading back. So he has the Giants moving up to 6. Giving Arizona's this year a third this year, the 6th round pick, and next year's 2nd, I believe, or maybe yeah. So he has the Cardinals moving back to 6, which I find interesting. He's got the Giants taking J.J. McCarthy. Giants, please, don't do it again. Don't do it again. That's my sign to you. Now, this is nothing against J.J. McCarthy. I think J.J. McCarthy in the right system can be an extremely talented NFL quarterback. I do. But I think that right system is somewhere that doesn't need a day 1 starter. I think that right system is J.J. McCarthy not learning from Daniel Jones if you do sit him. That's what I think. I think the right system for J.J. McCarthy is, you scroll down in the draft and you look at a team like even like a New York Jets where Aaron's old. You know what I mean? You look at even I wouldn't hate the Saints drafting him. The Seahawks with Geno Smith. The Rams, even though they just got someone. They signed someone young that I'm blanking on. You know what I mean? Like, those are the spots I'd expect. I don't know. Those are the spots where I feel like he could be extremely successful. A team that doesn't need a quarterback immediately but might need a quarterback in a year or 2, give him time to learn. That's what I think. I think if Schrager's got the insights that Schrager has, and we watch the Giants trade up for J.J. McCarthy on draft night, the Giants are making arguably a bigger mistake than they made when they drafted Daniel Jones at 5 or 4, whatever that was. When they drafted Daniel Jones that year. They're going to do it again at 4. If Peter Schrager's right, they're going to do it again at 4. And I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know. He's got Marvin Harrison and then Rome going after that, and then a bunch of tackles. He's got the Saints drafting an O tackle, which I'd love. He's got Brock Bowers going to the Jets, which personally I do love for the Jets. I think that's a great weapon to add there if he could fall to 10. I think Brock Bowers would be beautiful. He's got the Colts trading up for Malik Neighbors. I think that could be interesting. I think also something you could see that's really interesting because they're so high in the draft is maybe Washington trading up into the mid rounds if if Neighbors falls to like the mid rounds, I could see Washington sacrificing a second to try to go get Malik Neighbors and keep that duo together. I don't know. Draft time's interesting. Draft's in a week and a half, and we're all sitting here guessing. We all know what we want our teams to do. And if it's Giants fans, it's not draft J.J. McCarthy. It's that simple. If it's Giants fans, it's not draft J.J. McCarthy. Yeah, man. That'd be rough, man. That'd be rough. I'd feel so bad for you Giants fans if you all drafted J.J. McCarthy this year. And it's not that I don't like J.J. McCarthy. It's I don't think he's anyone's solution. I think he's someone's long-term solution. Like, I think he could fit in somewhere that is needed in a year or two because they have an old quarterback. But, man, the Giants are going to trade up from 6 to 4 to draft J.J. McCarthy, according to Peter Schrager, and that is insane. If that happens, I'll be baffled. All right. I think I'm going to end it there. That's all I got for you guys today. Thank you guys for tuning in. I know it started late, but, we were able to get in, obviously. Thank you guys for tuning in on YouTube. Thank you guys for tuning in here on WSJU. We ran even a little long after starting late. Please follow me on socials. Follow me on TikTok, Instagram, all that stuff. It's all in my YouTube. Subscribe to The Log Show over there on YouTube. Every Tuesday, I live stream as well as I am here on iHeartRadio for WSJU. That is all I have for you guys today. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I will see you guys all next week. Peace out.